exasperating, and yet peculiarly comforting Montserrat way. We want to do that, and we shall. But that will be for when we have put the COVID-19 genie back into its nasty little bottle. And I'm looking forward to that. So this is a starter conference, which is to say it's the first activity, the inaugural event in what we intend to be a long-lasting and productive gathering of minds on the topic of Montserrat. And the topic of Montserrat is one which is at one and the same time as one-track-minded and tightly focused, and yet as broad and wide-ranging as a topic could possibly be. Which brings me to how we get to be here, because the inaugural Montserrat conference is a production of the Montserrat conference. It is being hosted by the Montserrat conference, because a conference is also an association. I mean, the dictionary says an association of sports teams, but we figured we could take the liberty, we could ignore that little detail, because, well, language allows us to do that. And besides, we are working on the premise that each individual, every single person who will be part of this association brings with her or with him enough talent, skill, experience, education, information, competence, and capability on one or more topics for an entire team. Those of you who have heard me speak before will know that I believe firmly in Montserrat's expertise, in the innate intelligence and capability and talent and gift of Montserratians. My challenge has always been how we, whether or not we get the opportunity to develop them, explore them, and offer them to the world. That's always the challenge. We are born with them. We are no less talented, no less gifted than anybody else in the world. To my mind, quite the contrary, because we're so small and yet we produce so much. But that doesn't get circulated, for want of a better term, doesn't get displayed, doesn't get used, more to our point, doesn't get used as much in Montserrat as it really should be. So I know from experience that there's a whole army of people who belong to Montserrat by birth and by choice, who are skilled beyond measure. And that if Montserrat were to harness and direct even 10% of that power in a meaningful and focused way, we would be punching way, way, way above our little 42 square mile weight, whatever it is that we are now with our new lands. So the Montserrat Conference, the association, was created with precisely this vision in mind. That is the thing that we are working on and working with. And we are working towards this by gathering people in groups, small and large, formal and casual, to provide a space where Montserrat can tap into the experiences, the skills, the intellectual resources, and other resources of Montserratians and friends of Montserrat at home and in the diaspora, within academia, government, business, the media, non-governmental organizations, civil society, every sector really, to generate ideas for the development of Montserrat. We have been meeting in small groups for a while now, because we started this a few months ago, many months ago, right at the beginning of this year. Although this is a conversation that I had been having with some other people, with a group of people for probably about 2 years now. It finally came to being early this year, because we wanted to get the formalities set, prepare the space, the resources, and set the tone of the organization. So we've done the bulk of the groundwork, and now we are working to share and expand the work of the organization. We're inviting people to engage, to participate, to contribute. And we defined the organization that is known as the Montserrat Conference as, and this is from our mission statement, a public policy research group that works collaboratively to identify ideas, policies, actions, and resource needs that are vital to Montserrat's development, and ensure that these issues are the subject of focused examination and effective action by government, opinion leaders, and the general public. So today we are pleased and proud to present our inaugural event, and we are deeply honored that you have chosen to attend. We are eager to engage in discussion with you on all of the topics you'll be presenting. We want to hear your thoughts and questions, whatever your viewpoint. Today, you will hear major presentations on 3 topics of extreme importance and urgency for Montserrat right now: health, energy, and access. Those are the 3 main topics for today. We will also be introducing 2 additional topics: population and young people. And those are related to everything else, just like health, energy, transportation, or access. into and out of Montserrat are connected to every single thing else. And these are topics that we will develop and examine in future conferences in small and large context. It's important before we begin that I let you know that the ideas, opinions, and conclusions you hear today, recommendations that you hear today, are the result of work done by our members, and are presented with the request that you please engage with whatever questions, comments, or suggestions you might have. As each presentation is open, you can do that now. You can start posing questions in advance, because the speakers will speak for about 20 minutes. They'll be introduced, each of them by a young person. That's part of our youth engagement. So we have Ariana Silcott, Ashneil Jeffers, and Alison Parrish. Alison and Ariana, both Montserratians in the diaspora, young people of Montserratian parentage, and Ashneil lives on Ireland. And they'll be presenting the speakers today, the main speakers. And we want you to please pose questions. You can pose questions in the chat as we go along. Let me just also say that at the end of this, just like before, we had the 30-minute space for people to just kind of enter and settle in. At the end, there's another 30-minute space for you to pose questions that you might want us to follow up on, or comments, or suggestions, or recommendations yourself, or just your thoughts on the matter. Because we want to hear your thoughts. We want discussion and engagement, and we are open to the expansion and improvement of our ideas. We want that for Montserrat. So please post your questions as you go through the program, and the speakers will be happy to answer you in the question and answer sections after each program and after the conference is over. I think it's also important to note that a lot has already been said about the issues with which Montserrat is grappling. So very much has been said about these issues we've been struggling with for at least 2.5 decades, that we probably have at some point noted, recognized, acknowledged most, if not all of, the possibilities, potentials, and ideas open to us. We've been made aware of all of the available pathways and prospects. So much of the work that remains to be done really is collecting and recording these ideas and possibilities, examining them thoroughly in the finest details for feasibility, usefulness, availability. And I think that's one of the things that holds us back. When we hear conversations on many of the things that have to do with external funding, we hear a lot about making the case. And I think that's one of the, this is a broadly accepted opinion, yeah? And some people say it's fact because they have more information. That one of the things that holds us back, that challenges our success in accessing certain kinds of resources, is that we fail to make the case. And so what we are working to do at the Montserrat conference is gather these ideas and provide the why, the benefit, the costs, the benefits, say why it's important, how it's important, why we should have it. And we're basing a lot of our work and the papers that we'll be delivering to entities and organizations within the government and outside the government for conversation, for engagement, for challenge, by doing deep research into what these might be. So you're going to hear today some thoughts that you might have heard before, but what our speakers are attempting to do is provide a why, get us engaged, get us and the other people engaged in why Montserrat should have these, what benefit those would be for Montserrat. So they'll go through in this and future conferences, the costs and benefits. We want to be rational and logical and objective. I'm sure you know that because this is so close to our hearts, we sometimes get a little bit emotional, many of us, and we lose the rationality. But rationality has to be part of this. And I see some people on here I know who are already very much engaged, very much committed to the idea of rationality and logic as we present, okay, and objectivity. It must work, it must be good, we must show how. So we work on the premise that this is all available and possible for Montserrat. And especially if Montserratians work in collaboration on every front. So as you heard me say before, we work in collaboration, we work collaboratively with whoever. Montserratians at home, the organization, let me just read this other piece I had there because I wrote this in afterwards. The organization works on the premise that this is possible, very possible, this success and acquisition of financing and funding and resourcing and progress for Montserrat if the people of Montserrat work in collaboration on every front, if the people of Montserrat are fully and deeply engaged in the processes, are fully informed by whatever means necessary, which for me means more than Radio Montserrat. It means getting on the ground with people, talking with people in small groups, large groups about the issues. And it's not about giving people information, it's engaging people in giving their thoughts and identifying, articulating their preferences so that ultimately we come up with what works best for the greater number of people. We understand that Montserrat does not have the luxury of excluding anyone from the debates, but rather must ensure that whatever it takes, Montserratians at home and abroad are kept deliberately and intentionally as fully informed and engaged as they could possibly hope to be. In today's world, it requires merely the will. It's not hard. We're all connected. We're all online. The Montserrat Conference has the will and is therefore presenting itself as one of the vehicles through which this ambitious, but very, very necessary and indeed basic goal can be accomplished. It is time, therefore, to declare this conference formally open. We are ready to work. The conference tech is Ariana, one of our young people, and she will be monitoring throughout, and other people will be monitoring your questions and answers. Please send in questions so we can hear the answers in the question and answer segment. And again, after we finish, you can engage at 3:30 Montserrat time with the presenters and so on, and have them answer your questions in afterwards. Thank you very, very, very much for coming, and please enjoy the conference and let us know exactly how it works for you, what of value you got from it, and how we can maybe even do better next time. Thank you. Ariana?
Thank you, Ms. Shirley.